guys, how's it going? I hope you guys are doing great. Today we are going to be cleaning our iDOO that we set up a few weeks ago in a video. If you guys missed that video, I will link it in the description below. But this is the 10-pod hydroponic LED light system from iDOO. It's their newest system and I am really enjoying it so far. Today we need to clean it though, and to be completely honest with you guys, I have pretty much neglected this system since the day we set it up, like 4 or 5 weeks ago. So on one hand, that's a testament to the system. On the other hand, that's just me being real and honest with you guys. So I'm going to blame it on like the busyness of the holiday season, but I don't know if that's 100% true. So, we have a little bit of maintenance that I need to do on this system and the plants today, and we need to just do a general cleaning. And I wanted to show you guys kind of that process and what that looked like and what all that entailed. So the first thing that I want to do is I actually need to cut back a few of these plants. So in the front row of the system here, I have tomatoes growing, and these are good-hearted tomatoes from Proven Winners, and they are a dwarf type tomato. They only grow about 12 to 18 inches tall and wide, which is pretty much the max that you want to grow in something like this. But this is my first time really trying to grow tomatoes inside a hydroponic system, and they seem to be doing great so far. But I had excellent germination rate, and almost all of the seeds that I put in these pods germinated, which is fantastic. But on the other hand, I need to clean up these pods a little bit and get rid of some of those plants, because I really can't have more than one tomato growing out of a single pod. That's just way too much. So I need to go through and selectively prune away the plants that are looking a little weaker. Maybe they're a little smaller. Maybe they don't have any buds on them yet. And I need to find the strongest one and cut the extra off. Okay, so this one right here in the middle, we'll start with this one because this one is the biggest. You can see that there's 1, 2, and then there's one behind back here, 3 stems on this one sponge, which means there's 3 individual plants growing out of this one sponge, and that's just way too much. So I need to go ahead and cut 2 of these out. Now this one right here has some buds growing on them, and I'm not sure if you guys can see that or not, but it's about to start flowering, which is really exciting. And so I'm going to keep this one, and I'm going to cut the other 2 off. Now this is hard to do for me because that's a whole tomato plant, but you have to cut them off. Let me get this other one trimmed off. I just hate to completely throw away and not try to use them, because those are nice little tomatoes right there. Okay, now I need to trim this one up over here too. I have 2 plants growing out of this one. This one looks a little better, so I'm going to cut this guy off. Now in the center row here, I have some lettuce growing. That's what this is right here and right here. And then way in the back, I have some little itty bitty basil. It's doing its thing back here. I'm wondering if it's not really getting enough light because the lettuce is kind of overshadowing it. And so because of that, you can come in and do a little bit of grooming on your lettuce as well. Obviously, eat it, don't waste it. But you can come in and kind of trim leaves off around other plants so that you're making sure that the other plants are getting enough light, and kind of just make a little window for them. So I'll show you the back here. This is where my 2 little basil plants are, and I just trimmed a few little leaves off of these lettuce plants so that there would be more space. Okay, now that that's done, let's get back to business. So cleaning our system. From here, there's 2 ways you can kind of go about this. So there is a drain. Let me turn this around for you. On the back of your system right here. This is a little drain plug, which you can pull out and all of the water can drain out of your system. Before we do any of that though, we need to unplug it. So make sure you unplug your system before you start to clean it or anything like that, because if your system does not have water in it and the pump is trying to run, that can cause some big problems and really mess up your pump. So make sure that you always turn off your system before you clean it or dump the water out or anything like that. But first we need to do a little bit of disassembly. So first thing I'm going to do is unplug the wires from the system light. Next, I'm going to lift this top plate, which is holding all of my plants, off. Now, this is what I like to do because I feel like I'm going to have to do this anyway to really get inside the system and wipe it down. You could just drain it and refill it at this point and give it fresh water, but I really like to wipe out the inside of my system just to make sure that no algae or anything like that is growing in it. So the next thing that I like to do is go ahead and get a pan or something to set your plants on, because obviously they're going to be wet. They're going to make a little bit of a mess. So I just lift this top plate off, and this is always exciting, guys, because get ready. Look at all those roots. So exciting. Look at all of them down there. So we're going to just set this aside and push him over. They'll be fine for a few minutes. I also like to go ahead and take my light off, which you just hold and pull and it comes right off. So now we are just left with the base of our system, which again, we can use the drain hole and simply drain the water out, or at this point we can dump it really. The only thing you want to be sure is that you don't get any water in this cord, so make sure this cord stays out of the way as you dump and clean your system. Okay, before I get into cleaning this system and dumping the water out, I just wanted to show you what the inside of my system looks like in 4 to 5, 6 weeks maybe. So we have really hard water here where we live, and you can really see the buildup of calcium and hard water deposits all over the system. This is also algae and who knows what all else build up in here. So this is really why I like to disassemble my entire system and give it a good scrub. Now we can go ahead and dump the water out of our system. Like I said, you can either use the drain plug in the back and let it drain, or you can just go ahead and dump it out, making sure that this wire stays out of the water. Now to clean my system out, I simply just take some water and a rag, I wet it and I wipe it out really good. I don't really want to introduce any chemicals into this because it could cause some issues for your plants. The only thing that I would suggest, if you have a really bad hard water problem that won't come off or something like that, is using some white distilled vinegar. And you can simply just spray that in here, let it sit for a few minutes, and then wipe it out, making sure that you rinse your system out really well as well. But most of the time, mine just wipes right off with a wet rag. Okay, now that I have the main portion of my water reservoir clean, I also want to take a look at the pump. And it's really hard to see because this is such a tight space, but in the front of your pump right here is a little spot where the water enters, and there's little vents, and you want to make sure that those vents are nice and clear as well. Now this is what my system looks like after I've cleaned it. You can obviously tell where the water line still was, but there is no residual like stuff you can really feel there. It's all pretty smooth and just kind of stained, I guess. I'm not really sure. But you don't need it to be perfectly clean. You just want to make sure that you get any residual residue or anything like that off of the system so that there's no mold or algae growing. Okay, now that our reservoir is all cleaned out, all we need to do is start filling this back up with water. Now, as you fill your system, we talked about how to fill our system in the setup video. It's the same process. You want to make sure that you are filling your system up with 4.5 liters of water, and every time I put in a liter of water, because I have a measuring cup that measures 1 liter at a time, I can go ahead and measure 1 liter at a time and put 5 milliliters of both our A and our B nutrient solutions, which are extremely important for these plants. These are the only nutrients that these plants get, so you want to make sure you're not skipping on these. I also add these every time I add water to my system. That's a question that I had that came up on one of my videos, and I wanted to make sure that I explained that. So for every liter of water you put into the system, you want to put 5 milliliters each of A and B solution into your system. Now, sometimes your system's not going to need the whole liter of water, and you're going to want to be trying to keep this water level fairly consistent. So what I like to do sometimes is mix up a whole liter at a time and store it until my system uses all of that water. That way I'm not wasting any nutrients and I'm getting the proper ratio of water to nutrients for my plants. Now, if you're looking for a quicker way of filling up your system instead of measuring out liter after liter after liter, which it's only 4.5, but still, if you don't want to do that and you want to do this a little faster, you can always fill up your system to the fill line, which is 4.5 liters with water, and then come in and add both A and B solution. You're going to add 30 milliliters of each of these. So because this is a 4.5 liter system and you put 5 milliliters in each liter, then you're going to need 30 milliliters for the entire system. So it's up to you of however you want to do it, if you want to fill it all at once and just add a bulk amount, or if you want to mix up each individual batch. Either way is perfectly fine. Normally I mix mine up 1 liter at a time, but today I'm going to take the quick route and just fill this all up with water. So I went ahead and filled this to the 4.5 liter mark. On your nutrient bottles, their caps have little measuring marks on them, which is really nice. Each of these measure 15 milliliters at a time, so we're going to need 2 of these to make 30 milliliters of A and B. Okay, now that those are all in there, I'm just going to give this a little mix just to make sure that everything is well incorporated throughout the water. And the pump does this too, so it's probably not that necessary, but I guess I just like to be thorough. Okay, now we can go ahead and get our plants back in here. This is going to be a nice fresh breath of fresh air for them, a nice fresh drink of new nutrients, new fresh water. They're gonna love it. So we just set that back on top, and then we can go ahead and reinstall our light bar, which just snaps into the back. I showed all of this in detail when we set the system up, so if you're having trouble, go ahead and watch that video. It explains everything pretty well. And we're going to go ahead and plug our cords back in. And I'm going to go ahead and plug this into the wall to make sure everything still works. There she goes. Ah, she looks great. So really, this process is really quite fast. I mean, 10 minutes, 15 minutes if you really need to scrub your system if it's really looking yucky, or if you need to do a little bit of maintenance with your plants or whatever you need to do there. I love having a tabletop garden in my house. Right now it is like 26 degrees outside, and I have tomato plants and basil and lettuce growing right on top of my countertop, which is so fun. I absolutely love it. I'm really hoping that we're going to get some tomatoes out of this thing. That would be so cool to grow tomatoes in my house in the middle of probably January at that point. End of December, beginning of January, I'm hoping we'll have some tomatoes and have some fresh basil and just all the things. I'm really excited about it. So that's something that these systems really open up to you, is being able to grow some food throughout the season and really treat yourself to some things that normally you wouldn't be able to have during this time of the year. At least where we grow, we can't have tomatoes and basil outside. It is way too cold. They died weeks ago outside. But because of these little tabletop systems, I'm able to grow these things inside. And even if I don't get tomatoes off of my tomato plants, I'm still psyched about having a tomato growing right now. Now, I always make out really well with lettuce and basil and things like that. All types of lettuces, all types of greens grow really well in these. Basil grows really well. I've struggled with a few other herbs, but I think it's more probably because I need to soak the seed before putting it into the system. Sometimes I'm a little bit impatient and just like try to get things together. So that's probably more user error than anything. But yeah, these systems are really fun. If you've never had one and you've been thinking about trying it, I would encourage you to check them out. I will put a link for them in the description below. And I hope this video was helpful. If you guys have any questions about your system, about how to clean your system or anything that you're having trouble with, go ahead and shoot me a question in the comments below. I also wanted to mention really quick that if you guys need any replacements as far as your soil sponges, baskets, or the nutrients, there will also be a link in the description box below for those as well, because we do need to continue to get soil sponges and things like that as we continue to grow, and of course you start to run out of nutrients. So I'll make sure that I link all those things in the description box below for you guys if you need them, and I hope you guys are having a great day. We'll see you in the next one.